Hey, what is up, guys? I don't know if you guys ever done a little radio like this. I already kind of opened it, but I said I ought to do a video on here to kind of show you guys how it's done, and you might like to watch it while it's done. But it's a little cheap radio, ordered off of eBay, and the instructions are in Chinese. And you would expect, like, how would I put that together if the instructions are in Chinese? Well, it's a PBC, and what that means is it's a printed circuit board, and then we have a schematic here as well. Now, the schematic and the print, the print is numbers, and most of the schematic is numbers and letters, but the letters are going to refer to like maybe a capacitor, resistor, inductor, and so forth. And what we're going to go ahead and do first is get everything separated to make sure we have all our parts. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get everything separated. It's got a little small speaker antenna, and here's a little face for the radio right here, and it's a PN Sonic. It does FM TV and FM radio, of course, and AM, and these are the megahertz channel bands right here. But we'll see how that works out and what reception we can get. But without further ado, let me go ahead and get these separated, and I'll be back with you guys. Let's get them all dumped out first and get all the components separated. Now what we're going to do next is count our parts, make sure we have the right amount of parts. So I'm not going to take y'all through that counting part, so I'll be right back with you. I do want to show you guys this right here on the resistor side here. Let me get refocused. Oh, let me shed some light on there maybe. Okay, but I do want to show y'all this on the resistor side. Okay, as you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 resistors. But up here on one, for some reason they have R11 and R12 together. But we did count out 12. And if you want to make sure that at the same time, you got R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, R6, R7, R8, R9, R10, and then there's R11, and there's R12 for 12 resistors. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we do have 12 resistors. And then later we'll use our meter to tell us the ohms on the resistor they got labeled here on the side. All right. Now, after you got everything all separated and everything, do the check off, make sure you do have the ones you are supposed to have, which I've already did. I was thinking about going ahead and soldering on my resistors first, but I decided to go with this IC chip first. That baby there is going to be the hardest one. And I'll kind of tell you why. I mean, it's a surface mount, but it's so small. Now, if you're curious about the direction of it, the front of the pin got an indent on here, and then on the printed circuit board, it got a dip in the print there. And what you just want to do is just make sure all these are attached on here. It's kind of difficult, but you want to make sure all those are attached on the rail or the contacts that they're supposed to be on when you solder them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, guys, and I'll be right back with you once I got this surface mount chip soldered to my circuit board. Now what I've done, folks, is I've started going ahead and putting my resistors in along with my capacitors. I went and got my chips already soldered on, my IC chips, but I'm about to solder on my resistors and my capacitors, and I'm going to start from the bottom going up so I can make sure nobody's touching in the back or solder's not touching, but I've got my leads bent over so they don't fall out or anything, but that's the process I'm doing right now. All right, folks, let's see here. Look like we got all our smaller capacitors soldered on. We got all our resistors in place and soldered on. I think I'll go back and cut all those when I'm finished soldering, but let's go ahead and move on and go to the larger components. So, I guess I put these coils in, then finish the taller standing capacitors. All right, here my coils are. Basically, those are inductors, if you know how inductors work. Yeah, just inductors without the casing, but there's two of them, and we're gonna put those two in. All right, we have our inductors in place. We got all of our capacitors in place, and we are ready to solder those guys in. Then we move on to the larger components, because them small ones is hard to get to if you have them larger ones in your way. All right, folks, we have come to the step where we're going to put on all of our controls and everything. That's the speaker, my speaker headphone jack outlet. This is our tuner, and then that is our volume. The only thing I want to say about this here, the tuner, it only has 4 pins, and they all are like in a line in a square. So when you're putting this on, what you want to be careful of is, let me get something to point to it here. What you want to be careful is these screws are accessible. You don't want to have it turned around where you can't get to them, because as you can see, like I said, it has 4 holes, pins, and you can turn it any direction you want. But if you have it in the wrong direction, you won't be able to access these little screws, and that's for finer tuning, depending on the area you live in, to get your stations. And yeah, just pay close attention to that, folks. And that is what it is. And it gets easier from here, folks, because everything is a lot larger and not so close together and congested. And last, we'll do our coil. We'll do our coil last here. All we do is attach that to the AM terminals here. Let's see. And then we're gonna solder our wires to the back of the speaker and to our board here. And All right, what we're gonna go ahead and do now is we're gonna put our battery terminals inside of our case in here. One side is fixed. As you can see, there's no way to mess up that direction on that one. But when you come to the other side, what you want to make sure is you have positive going to negative and negative going to positive. And what I mean by that is, batteries, they hook them up in series. So it goes from from positive to negative, then out of negative back to positive. So what you want to make sure is you don't have two springs on the same side, basically. Have one spring on this side and over here a spring on this side. That way you can have the series circuit going on. Everything else is almost pretty self-explanatory. Just when you're putting on this tuning knob for your stations, just make sure you got it all the way up until it stops. So the dial can be in place when you insert it, because you want everything to line up with this right here. As you turn this, you want this little dial right here. Want this little dial right here to raise up and down like it should. And what this is going to do is it's going to wrap around. It's going to wrap around this guy right here. It's going to pull it up and down. So you can see what frequency you're on. All right, folks. I must warn you, this thing is really tricky trying to get put together in this case. But what I did here was I did wire it up so I can just hook the batteries up, because you can see the wires coming out the back. And I got my tuning thing here. I can still access the tuner here. And once I get that all the way done right there, then I will put it in. But I just went over making sure everything was finely soldered and make sure nothing's touching and everything. And let's go ahead and power her on and see what we got here. Cross your fingers. It shouldn't smoke nothing, but it's just two double A's. But the IC chip was the toughest part. I hope I got it all connected. Let's see. Ooh. I got something. What is it on? Look like it's on AM. Let's turn the FM and see what we get. We're gonna probably need that antenna for FM. Let me see if I can. Where does it go in on back here? Yeah, that was Coast to Coast AM radio with George Norrie. For FM, looks like I'm gonna have to hook this antenna up the right way, guys. I'm not getting anything. All right, we're back. Got it all snapped together. And of course, that AM bandwidth is coming in stronger because AM is stronger bandwidth. It goes out further, but it's cheap Chinese radio. It's not putting much out on the FM. I don't know if it's need or radio, the antenna. See, I switch it, but I'm not still picking up anything. And there you have it, folks. If you stuck around this long, don't forget to share this with your friends, like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.
And if you believe in equal justice, this is conscience.
It was fun putting together, folks, but it was cheap China crap, and you get what you buy. This radio was like, I think, under $10.
worked out a negotiated deal, got an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement